Good evening, everybody. Thank you for joining me. My name is Ian Blackburn. It is Wednesday, and every Wednesday at 7 o'clock, we do Zoom into Wine, a collaboration I do with my product called learnaboutwine.com and my family's wine store called The Merchant of Wine. Every week, we get some great people together to talk about wine, to learn some things, to taste some really interesting product. And I will say, sometimes I get to show off some, it's really easy to fall in love with $100, $200 bottle of wine, and we get to do that on occasion too. But when you're tasting wine for a wine store, you want to have a balanced wine store with a little something for people that want to buy something every day, or perhaps you are very sensitive with your budget and you want to find something that's solid and that you can depend on. And these wines are absolutely hardworking wines. We call it the Cheap Cab Challenge, just unabashedly, because this is going to show. I think you're going to be pretty impressed. Some of these wines work really hard, and for the dollar, they are over delivering. And so that's kind of like part of the fun part of my job is to taste a lot of, kiss a lot of frogs to find a couple of princes and princesses to put on the list. And I'm going to be very curious to hear some of your comments and have you involved. I'd love to hear if you like it or don't like it. I would really like to know. And I'd love to just have a real interactive session today. I've been working my butt off since last week. That Black Friday thing is a thing. We got busy, and that's good. We'll take it. So I have been filling orders from 7 in the morning until 7 at night. I've got two team members out, two separate team members that both had babies. So we are stretched incredibly thin around here. So I've been having to cover more than one base, wearing more than one hat. And I'm going to tell you the truth. I really need a drink. So we're going to taste some Cabernet tonight. And let's get started with wine number one. Thank you all for joining me tonight. I'm going to take off my virtual background. Takes a second. Sorry about that. My friends in the back here, Baby Yoda. Is there anybody ever wonder who that guy is that's sitting over there? That's Rex Pickett. He's the author of Sideways. And long ago, he was supposed to be on one of my Zooms. He got, I don't know, I think he was partying in Brazil is what I think he was doing. But he missed my Zoom. So I had this cardboard cutout because I was going to have some fun with him that night. Little did I know that was the only appearance that he would be making. But I told him he would never miss a Zoom again. So that's why he sits right there. He's actually a very good friend of mine, and we're working on something pretty big for the future. So we'll see what happens. All right, here we go. This is the Cheap Cab Challenge, as I described. And here comes the PowerPoint, which will be our guide. There's a chat box on there. And, oh, let me grab my bottles. Hold on one second. Got the empty bottles in case you have any questions about alcohols or anything like that. But wine number one, the question is, what's going to be number one? It's the Man. This is the Man family. It's a coastal region Cabernet Sauvignon from South Africa. Okay. And there we go. Man family. Now, I bought this uh, just as we were kind of still coming in. We were still in the pandemic mode. There were a lot of really aggressive offerings out there. But things were starting to dry up. Like the wine market had flushed out all of the extra inventory in that first year of the pandemic. And the second year of the inventory, the deals started to get a little less aggressive. But this one walked in the door, and I've been able to keep this on the website for under $10. In fact, I think it was under $9, maybe under $8 for a little while too. This is something that I'm just pretty impressed with, and I'm going to taste it with you here in a minute. But a lot of value coming out of South Africa, primarily because our dollar is just so strong that we're able to really take advantage of the currency and bring something in that just is absurd on a price price of product. There's no way we could compete with something like this almost anywhere else in the world. Our US dollar is worth something. I think when I was there, it was like 10 to 1. Now it's like 40 to 1. It's a huge number. And I'm not an economist. I'm not sure where that is at this right at this moment. But it's called the Rand. You can Google it, Rand versus dollar. And so that is the economic opportunity that has been existing. And the importers, have to work pretty hard too, because one of the strategic advantages of South Africa is a lower price point, and they had these huge container costs to pay as well. So I've heard some comments say that the cost of importing the wine was more than the wine itself in some situations. So a lot of what we've got packaged in on a South African import wine, the value is the actual shipping, the box, the container, the taxes, all that stuff, even more than the wine sometimes. But this is a really prolific growing area in South Africa. It stretches from the western Cape Town over here, kind of very rich in area here, and kind of stretches all the way up and around. And so you've got this whole growing environment. This is a wine region. This isn't an orchard that also makes wine. This is a grape growing area. It was kind of created for the wine shortages of Europe to be the backup plan for the European wine market back 400 years ago. And so they've always been making wine for others, way more export than domestic sales. And by the way, during the pandemic, the South Africans made it illegal to buy wine. So the wineries really were just absolutely in a pickle, because they could only get their income from the export market. So this kind of their personal little story off of their website, but this product, this man project, is really a collaboration with the grape growers themselves, and they are the shareholders in their company. And so this is a real like team spirit type of a wine. Again, the region here is quite generous. It says coastal region, so it's wherever these grape growers are coming from. The name on the bottle says Eau Gallant. Eau Gallant in Afrikaans means old rascal. That's on the back of the bottle. This is a really nice look. And if you've ever been to South Africa, I had the great opportunity to go twice. Once because my best friend got married there in wine country, and another on a wine tour that was something I insisted on doing. I went by myself and had the time of my life. And if you're ever going to go to South Africa, I'd love to help you with a couple of suggestions. The biggest one I'm going to give you, first of all, is to hire this guy that I got to hire. He came and picked me up at the airport in a car and drove me all week long. In fact, he wanted to sleep in his car. I wouldn't let him sleep in his car because we were way out in the middle of nowhere. And so I had two beds in most of the rooms I was staying in. I was changing rooms or changing locations every night. I just said, here, you stay in the other bed. And so he accompanied me on the trip and drove me for the entire week. And he asked me for like $400, $500 for the week, and give him considerable tip. But there's no street names on any of the streets. And this was, by the way, in about 2002. And so GPS wasn't that good. You were probably using a triptych still from AAA. And he knew all the streets. He knew all the wineries, where everything was. I never got lost. And by the way, he's a retired military man, about 6'6", 300 pounds. Only problem is I had to feed him. That was expensive. Let's go in and talk about this wine. Perfect marriage of New World vibrant fruit and Old World excellence. Deep garnet in color. This wine has aromas of dark cherries, followed by cassis and red currant fruits on the palate, silky tannins, and a long, smooth finish characterized by the versatile Cabernet Sauvignon. It is a pure Cabernet. I try to rate wines with a fairness scale, and really kind of enjoy what this wine isn't trying to be. At this price point, at this level, you're looking for just real nice, authentic, unbutchered wine where, a lot of people would try to put too much wood on this wine, and you'd almost smell like hard candied vanilla, or something like, to keep the cost down, a lot of inexpensive wineries literally use sawdust in a big bag. It looks like a tea bag. You would dip it in the tank to impart wood aromas and wood flavoring. None of that here, and I'm very happy for that. It really is a cooler climate in South Africa, so you're going to have some of those cooler climate characteristics, often known as pyrazines. Smells like a little bit of bell pepper, just a hint of bell pepper, and a kiss of like pencil shavings or graphite. I think it's pretty cool. And I serve it on the cooler side of the temperature. When I swirl it around, I look at it, it's got decent color. It's not the thinnest, lightest in color, but you can tell this isn't a super concentrated wine. This it is bottled under screw cap, and I love the fact that I can't tell this was under screw cap. There's nothing that tells me, this has been kind of preserved or captured and wasn't living a very good life underneath the screw cap. A lot of wines tell me that, and I hate that.
I was going to ask you, in terms of screw cap versus cork, what your thoughts were.
Yeah, on a $6 bottle of wine, probably would rather see it under screw cap, because you're forced to use a cork that's so low in quality to keep your cost in place, that, and you're already working with a pretty fragile project. So I like the screw cap in a wine like this, especially if it was white. But I think this winery did a really good job of encapsulating this wine in a screw cap without damaging or affecting the wine quality. And not every winery can do that. Here's a look at our winemaker, and he does make a number of different wines for a number of different producers. And if you get down there, like I said, it's visually it is like Jurassic Park of grape growing, because it's just raw land and miles of vineyards. There are wonderful guest houses or bed and breakfast style places to stay, and I stayed at a number of them. Great breakfast with the family in the morning time, included in the room. And I think one room I stayed in, it was like the equivalent of $30 US, and it was a nice room. I mean, we're talking really nice quality. I would never stay in a scary spot or anything that I wouldn't recommend to others. Well, if I did get put there, I'd probably leave and try to find something else. But I was really well taken care of there. We're at $10 now on this wine. And frankly, I haven't ordered it in a while. I did get a huge last hit of the 2019. I suspect that future vintages will continue to increase in price. I don't know. I don't see a lot of it out there in the world, and I'm kind of flying blind when I priced it, because I did buy a chunk and I got a good deal. I wouldn't want to pay a lot more than $10 for this wine. This is not a wine that says, this is not trying to taste like it's $30 either. It's just pure, nice sunshine in a glass. Really does have some typicity to South Africa. I had an event recently. Someone hired me to pour at an art exhibit, and they had about 300 guests, and they wanted a nice little wine bar, and they wanted to keep the budget light. So I was pouring some different things, and everybody came back and really enjoyed the taste of this particular cab. And I'm every time I break it out and do something like this, I get even more confident that this is a pretty decent little bottle of wine. Now, I have flown on a lot of airplanes and been handed a lot of little plastic bottles of wine that taste like the wine just finished fermenting, and it's got this grapey, I when I studied for the master wine, it's not a master of expensive wine, it's a master of wine. I want to understand, how these things come together. And I'm just telling you, I really think this is a very sound and practical. And I think it's kind of has one foot in the old world, one foot in the new world. I think it's really balanced, and I rather enjoy it. As a house wine for $10, I'm happy. Hope you guys enjoyed that too. I did not see my chat box light up, so I'm not feeling it. Love to hear what you guys think.
I don't see the chat box.
Go to the bottom of the screen. You see that more button?
I don't see a more button.
All
I'll just say whatever I want to say. How's that?
right, you go for it. Yeah, you don't have to chat.
Okay.
Go for it, Tony.
Yeah, I didn't like the finish on it.
Okay.
It's a little rough.
A little rough. I just saw a comment. Thank you very much, Rose and Pete. Liked how easy it was to drink. Nice cherry flavors. Screw top a bonus.
Yes.
Keep it nice and sweet. There we go. All right. So that's specimen number one. We're going to talk at the end. Natalie, that temperature, bringing the temperature down on that first one, I think is also nicer. It's nice and it just tastes better at a slightly cooler temperature. Wendy said pleasant. I like that. Amazing for the price. That's even a compliment. Would love to see this at an art opening. Yes, because if you go to an art opening, you're probably tasting something that is the least expensive wine you've ever tasted in your life at an art opening. Yes, very enjoyable. I'll take this over an airplane wine. Thank you, Michael. We've refrigerated all of them. A cheap cab hack we employ often. Thank you, Rose and Pete. I totally agree. You will improve your wine quality, especially on a lower cost bottle of wine. You could almost serve this as cool as a white wine and be very happy. All right, let's go on to wine number two. And keep the opinions flowing. Now, I have bought wines from J. Bookwalter at all price points. He made a top 100 wine last year for the Wine Spectator that was about $100 a bottle. When the supplier came to taste me on a few new offerings, he broke out this one, and I was not told of the price. I tasted it. I said, that's solid. And he showed me the price, and I was like, sign me up. Now, Washington wines and California marketplace, my marketplace, it's been tough. Washington is still finding its customer. It's not like, nobody makes Cabernet in the world. Washington makes Cabernet. They're competing with every part of California, every part of Argentina, Chile, everywhere that makes Cabernet. And I think Washington can be a little almost perfect in a way that's kind of uninteresting. It kind of grows this really wonderful, straight and narrow fruit that maybe doesn't have enough character for some people. But I'm really smitten with this little offering. It's called Notebook Red. J. Bookwalter, the name Bookwalter. There's a lot of literary references at this winery. And so this is Notebook Red, just a nice little casual blend coming from the Columbia Valley in and around Red Mountain and other Walla Walla, Horse Heaven Hills. All those things are out in this part of Washington. It is a very prolific zone because of irrigation. If without irrigation, it would be desert. And they have been able to, a lot of water sources up there, plenty of water. They've been able to make some very amazing wines. And there's a growing list of $200 producers. And there's a lot of Napa Valley producers buying vineyards in this part of the world, because if Napa Valley gets too much hotter, they're going to need to grow grapes somewhere else. And so this is the future this is like the backup plan for a lot of the Napa Valley. And so there's been a lot of acquisition. A lot of small family guys have been purchased by the big wineries. But this is a nice little family that's been in the business for a long time, owned the land for a long time. And they've got a nice little reputation up there. They're not the biggest brand, but they do grow a lot of fruit, and they sell most of their fruit to others. Here is the winery. Nice little tasting spot to pull up to. And this is about the wine. This, by the way, is called Notebook, and it is a non-vintage, something else we should talk about, because they are blending multiple vintages together to create some complexity and to take advantages of some years being generous and some years being short. And I think this is a really interesting thing. Aromatically rich and delicious to quaff, this dry wine is ready to drink from summer barbecues through winter meals. Rich and fresh flavors taste well above its price and category. The wine's aromatics display savory 3 and 4 year barrels, barrel-aged complexity. So there is a little bit of wood in here, some older wood, but not old wood. There's heaps of youthful red fruit like black cherries, plums, red currants, and figs, wrapped with cedar, caramel, and chocolate. Succulent, smooth fruit begins with flavors of baker's chocolate, black cherry, blackberry, toast, dried herbs, tobacco, and a cola finish. I think the cola thing is something I always kind of note. A very like Mr. Pibb kind of character in almost every single wine I taste from Washington. Combination of long-aged, powerful Cabernet that is fresh, fruity, fresh, fruity Syrah from Washington's ripest vintage. Fill this delicious, affordable wine. So it's Cab and Syrah. And I think there's some Merlot in here too. 90 points in the Wine Enthusiast. So that's a nice little note there. They talk about a little green pepper, coffee, and cherry. Here's a look at the vineyards. In the Bookwalter winemaking facility. Yeah, this is a solid place, a bankable brand, something that you're going to continue to hear about for years to come. They do make a good click of wine, and this wine's $12.95. That nose, I think, is great. It's got great fruit purity, lots of like, it's like a bowl of cherries. There is a lot of Syrah character in the mouth. But there's enough cab in the blend. Let's see if it gives me even more detail here. Yeah, 42 cab, 24 Syrah, 22 Malbec, 7 Merlot, 3 Petit Verdot, and 2 Cabernet Franc. So pretty extensive blend. What do you think?
It's a
That's
bold.
the Notebook, Ian?
Yeah, it's called
The blend?
Notebook. Yeah.
Would you mind putting that in the chat? Because that's not what it says online. Just so I can get it right in my notes. I would love that.
Sure. Let me see if I can pull it up on the website.
The website says it's 85 cab, 13 Syrah, 2 Merlot.
Well, you know what? That might be. Yeah, it does.
Or am I looking at the wrong one?
Oh, you're looking at the right one. That's what the website says. But I'm going to tell you that because this is non-vintage, and you see what that says right there, 14 NV. What we're tasting is 16 NV. So this is that's their way of doing it to kind of know which blend. So they made this the first one that I bought in the 14, and that's when we developed this tasting note. And I just ordered more and got the 16. So on the bottle, it says 16 right there. So I didn't realize that they sent me something different, but it has been a little while since but I bought that 14 NV last year, and I've reordered, and I just got this 16 maybe a month ago. So maybe it was 2 months ago, but
Are we drinking the 16?
we are drinking what's called the 16 NV. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's bold. I like it.
Yeah, I think it's got a lot of character for the
Yeah.
money. And great color. And there's nothing too mass produced about it. A lot of wineries at the lower price point start slamming the wine with mega purple, making it almost like look like a neon colored wine. And Petit Syrah is often a part of the game, because Petit Syrah can be fairly inexpensive to buy, carry a lot of color and a lot of structure. And so you can see Petit Syrah blended in, or quietly blended in sometimes. But this should always equal 100%. You want me to give you those numbers again, Natalie?
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Okay, so here's that blend again. 42 Cab, 24 Syrah, 22 Malbec, 7 Merlot, 3 Petit Verdot, and 2 Cab Franc. And I'm going to assume that some of you may buy this wine tonight. You will get the 16 because that's what I have. But I don't have much, and I'm going to be reordering again. So probably the next time, if I do go overboard, I'll be rolling into, I don't know, maybe the 16, or what they're doing. Maybe they're doing it every other year. I'm not sure what their program is long term. It might say 17 or 18 on the bottle, but it's still their non-vintage wine. And I do think it's still the same great deal. So maybe I'll have the same 16 come in again too. It hasn't been that long since I got this one. Let's go back in, go to number 3. Just recently, we did our Heroes of Cabernet, and we featured 100-year-old block of Cabernet from Lapostolle. They're Apalta old vines, $160 a bottle or something like that. I got 99 points. We also interviewed the director of winemaking for both properties, who was really charming and fun and delightful. And I'm hoping we'll see her come to California. Maybe we could do something with her, because these guys make some exciting stuff. Casa Lapostolle is a really fascinating, and it's like the perfect wine story. The daughter of the family that owns or invented Grand Meunier, the liqueur, Mrs. Meunier, who's now, I'm not going to guess her age, but she's older than my mom. I know that. She has she looks like royalty. She's gorgeous, gorgeous woman, and really, led an amazing international life of luxury. And she has built an amazing estate down in Chile, in the Rapel Valley. Here you can see the different growing zones. And they bought this old vine vineyard site that wasn't in very good shape when they bought it, but it had a lot of promise. And she has completely nursed the vineyard to health over the last, I think it's been about 30 vintages. So they've been around for a while, and they were pretty early, and they didn't mess around. They went in they went big, because you could do that when you have Grand Marnier money, and you're talking about buying Chile vineyards in Chile in the 1980s was probably dollars an acre. So here's our timeline. It was 1994. Okay. So they've done very well for themselves and have an amazing property. Michel Rolland is also involved in the consultation. Very famous flying winemaker of France. He's involved in lots of very expensive projects all around the world. God, I'd love his job. What a great job. He just flies around, tastes wines, talks to the winemakers, and consults. And he does improve the wines. That's why he has so many of the best clients in the world. And he has a lot of feedback because he's traveling all over the world, and he's seeing what's happening, and he's got this incredible war chest of information, things that he's been doing and things that have been working and maybe things that haven't been working. So he is an incredible asset to bring onto the team. This is the Apalta property, and their beautiful winery, which is kind of built in a aesthetically pleasing and kind of looks like it's part of the backdrop. Doesn't stand out like some gigantic warehouse spaceship type thing. But this is about the wine. Really simple notes available about the wine. Sorry about that. Pretty thin there. But 92 points, James Suckling. This is dialed in with black currants, oyster shell, lavender character, full body, tight and firm with polished and refined chewy tannins, hints of vanilla and a flavorful linear finish. Now we are tonight drinking the 2017, and I got sold 17. I got sold 19. Oh, we have 17 again. That's kind of the way it sometimes works. So I have 17, I have 19, I have both. I have bottles of both. I have no idea what I'm going to get the next time I go to order this wine, but I will continue to buy this wine. I love this wine. I say that, and I haven't tasted it with you yet, but this venue is magnificent. They are a great family. They make beautiful wines, and it's a great value. $13.95. There's something very distinctly Chilean about the nose, and I didn't see this in the notes. Let me click on the wine and see if I can go to my website. It says it's 85 Cab, 15 Syrah, but I can see up here they mention Carmenere, and I can smell Carmenere in this wine. It may not actually be there, but Carmenere just has this really interesting spice. I mean, you can tell me any spices and I can almost smell it in Carmenere. It's kind of leafy, kind of tobacco, kind of things like paprika. I've been playing with a lot of paprika lately in a lot of my food, and I can really get hints of that in the top of the nose. It's very Chilean. And here you get some tannins. I think this is the first wine that we've approached on the finish with a nice tannic finish, which tannins are an acid. We extract it from the color, with the color from the skins, from the seeds, from the barrels. Tannin used to be, a long time ago, we got lost with tannins thinking, oh, more tannin the better. because tannins help these wines age. Well, if you keep your tannins out of balance, you're going to make a wine that tastes too tannic. And I think of it like leaving the tea bag in the tea too long and over extracting, and it becomes bitter. That's tea tannin being extracted from the tea bag. And that's what you could do with tannins. You can make the wines too almost bitter. And there's almost like a bittersweet chocolate character on the finish of this wine. Like you're eating a nice high cacao chocolate, and that can have a bitterness to it. And there's like a little bittersweet chocolate on the finish of this wine. But this is the first wine that I think my brother would like, because he only likes wines that hurt his mouth. That's what he said.
What does that mean?
He likes to feel the wine. He doesn't know how to taste anything. I don't even know if he can taste anything. He just knows it's good when it starts to dry out his mouth, and he can feel the tannins like, oh yeah, that's good wine right there.
Does he lift weights also?
No, he's more of a desk jockey, but good golfer. Keeps his golf swing pretty good. All right. So any comments about our Chilean example tonight? Any thoughts? That wine was also under screw cap closure, and 2017, 6 years old. It's pretty fresh. We got some chat comments. Let me see what those say. Thank you. Rose and Pete, that was your question. Is this a floral note on this? I hope you were referring to the Chilean wine, because it says once you said lavender, that made sense. Yeah, it's definitely kind of a purple, red, floral kind of character in there. It is kind of hard to place, and I think of Chile as having a lot of that floral aromatic. It's part of the minerality. And I also think it's just the way the kind of Cabernet ripens down there. It's almost in that same Parisine character too. So that kind of helps got a lot of lift going on there. I get barbecue meat notes and some dirt on Chilean wine. I think that's fair to say. There's definitely some like rugged tannins, grilled meats, and I think this is kind of meaty. You are enjoying number 3, but shamelessly enjoy number 2 a little bit more. Very good. Thank you, Wendy.
I agree.
All right. That's what we're here to do. Let's get back into it and go to number 4. Joliesse Vineyards Cabernet. Actually, California appellation. The vineyard itself is in the Napa Valley, but this is a California appellated wine. Of course, there's a nice look at where we're at. I'm not sure why it says Lodi, but maybe that's why it says California appellated, because it's Lodi and Napa. So where's Lodi? Near Sacramento, Modesto. They make more wine in Lodi than they do in Napa and Sonoma combined.
It's fruity. I like it.
Yeah, this is fruit. This is sunshine. These guys do their research. They know what California people like in their wine, and earth isn't always part of the equation. They wanted to, this is sunshine in a glass in a bigger way, much riper, and really pushes you into almost like the dried fig and raspberry, kind of raspberry puree zone. So look at that wine. We're back down to $11.95. When I tasted these, I said, let's not start with this wine. This one's a little big and riper, and we need to push this down the lineup a little bit. And boy, that nose is beautiful. Wow. I poured it on Monday, as I normally do. And some wines become a little, wines of place like that Chilean wine became a little bit more Chilean in the nose. And this California fruit bomb became a little more fruit bomby. So it's showing great. It is listed as pure Cabernet. Not a ton of information given out about winemaking technique or anything else anywhere.
And what's this one? What?
So, Joliesse is at $11.95.
Okay.
Are you able to see? Am I not sharing my screen? Sorry
okay,
about
now I see it. I'm not able to add to the cart, so I'll just email you.
Oh, you got it. If your cart gets too full, you email me. I'll take care of you.
Oh, okay.
All right. Let me see. Let me go back, because maybe I wasn't sharing the slideshow. A couple of photos about the wine. Yeah, it's kind of a little less. There's not a lot of marketing materials on these guys either. Still kind of a little up and coming brand. I think there's some pretty big names behind it that are helping make this wine come into the marketplace. Maybe some leftover fruit from some bigger players, but I'm really impressed with the nose. I think the ripeness factor, it's beautiful in the nose, and then in the mouth, it does, as I'm tasting it, doesn't have the most acidity here. So but it's not trying too hard. It doesn't have any fake wood aromas or character. The finish is kind of slowly lingering, but not like tightening up with tannins or anything like that. It's just very nice, quaffable. And I think it's at the price point about as good as I can find in California. Let's go to number 5. This time we're going down to Baja. And we're going to taste with Mr. I think his last name is Magoni. Casa Magoni would make sense, right? But this guy's really like thought of almost like the Robert Mondavi of Guadalupe Wine Valley. Magoni, real generous guy, shares a lot of information, been doing it for a long time, older man, super affable, really nice man. Camilo, that's his name, yeah. Moved there in 1965 after studying viticulture and enology in Alba in northern Italy. 50 years he worked at L.A. Cheto, which is L.A. Cheto is the biggest winery in Baja, second to none, because you could take all of L.A. Cheto's production and then everybody else, and everybody else doesn't make as much wine as LA Chateau makes as a brand on their own. That's how big LA Chateau is. So LA Chateau is distributed all around the world. It is kind of the ambassador wine of Baja, and he worked for this LA Chateau winery for 50 years. So before starting his own brand. So he has some true fans and followers. He invested, bought vineyards, sold grapes to a lot of different wineries. He just started making his own wine, and has something for his family now, and about 21,000 cases. So not a huge brand, but that's what he's able to make from his vineyards. That's a considerable amount of wine. You pay a lot of bills when you make 21,000 cases of wine. And he's using, in in Baja, they just blend. I mean, that is what they do down there. And in fact, my famous quote that I got years ago from a really famous winemaker down there said, Baja is a mosaic. And I asked him, I said, what is the top grape of Baja? Is it Nebbiolo? Is it Tempranillo? Is it Sangiovese? Is it Cabernet? And he goes, yes, you blend them all together, and that's Baja. 13% alcohol here. Freshness, purity, and drinkability are expressed wonderfully in this value option. It's just a really nice fruit forward, fresh driven wine. These cool small wood barrels. Where are these from? Modena. There's a look at its vineyards up against the hills. We're up to, this is the most expensive wine of the night, I think. We're at $20. And I do think this is about as inexpensive as I can find a wine from Baja. The Baja wines are not cheap, but they kind of all get clumped together between 30 and 50 bucks a bottle. So they all kind of live there. So this one's trying a little harder. And even inside of his lineup, he makes like a bunch of wines that go over 30 bucks, but this is kind of his workhorse wine. Lots of coffee. Kind of coffee and caramel coming in on the nose. See, while this wine doesn't act much like a Cabernet, I really like the way the Sangiovese kind of, it's like two instruments playing together, and it's like 1 + 1 = 3 here. As I don't feel like I'm shifting from Cabernet to Sangiovese. It's just really nice the way it kind of goes and it comes across the palate. There's nothing harsh, nothing bitter, nothing sour, nothing anything. It's just nice fruit balance. Pretty refreshing too. My palate's kind of left ready to go again. Rose and Peter, I didn't like the aromas at first. Almost seemed like a dessert wine. Is it on this wine, or was that the last one?
No, that was the previous one. Sorry.
Oh, that's fine.
No, we're liking this one. It's, like got a nice mouthfeel. Like I think we just, I think it's a good one.
It's really smooth, yeah. And certainly like the plums definitely came out. I was thinking there's some sort of black fruit, but it's not blackberry. What is it? And that's, I mean, close enough. Stone fruit.
Yeah, it's like cherries and plums, and it's got it. There's a thinness to it.
Yeah, that's what it is.
Yeah,
That's
it's
what I don't like.
a little leaner. Doesn't have kind
Yeah.
of that. There's no candied effect there either. So if you like it on the fruit focus side, this is a little bit more on the Sangiovese side of the fence, I think. And
I was looking for a word, thinness. Yeah.
a little thinner, yeah. But it kind of stays there in a nice, pleasant way, in that it's persistent and clean, and really, I think, balanced. And I think a Chianti fan would like this, and I think someone who's looking for a cab may enjoy this as well. But it's just a nice wine of Baja. And we just did a Baja dinner here in LA last Sunday. We had fun with that. We were at the Four Seasons. We had a nice sold out audience, and we tasted 21 wines with dinner from Baja.
Oh, my goodness.
There's like a little bit of a sour cherry starting to come forward here too in this wine, that also kind of speaks to slightly cooler climate, a little more Mediterranean. Natalie's love wine number 5. Very cool, Natalie. I'm glad you like it. He's a good man, really likable. If you're going to go to Baja, you're going to go to Guadalupe Wine Valley, and we're talking about it again. You know, we had the worst luck about a year and a half ago. We announced a trip to Baja the day a bunch of people died from, getting shot up by by some cartel in Tijuana. Not the way you want to to announce a trip to Baja, because you drive through Tijuana to get there.
Mm-hmm.
And so we were not successful at marketing that trip. And the prices of Baja went down quickly because that is not a cheap place to go. Let me tell you, the hotels that are down there are packed, and they are highly sought after. You have a hard time getting a nice hotel in Baja for less than $500, $600, $700 a night. And bus down there, it's more expensive to get a bus in Baja than it is to get a bus in the Napa Valley. So that trip was a little steep. I might try it again in the future, and I would, yeah, the cartels are still down there, but they're not shooting up people in Baja. Hopefully the news cycle will be a little bit better and kinder next time we try to launch a trip. All right, we're going to finish strong here with number 6. And this is, again, a California appellated Cabernet Sauvignon. It's from the Precision Wine Company. This is called Method. Now, if you've seen this before, I want to caution you, they do make 2 wines. They make a Napa appellated wine, Napa Valley Method, and then they made this California appellated wine. The Napa wine sells somewhere in the mid-30s a bottle. This one is considerably less, and they make it in the Napa Valley. It's made with master sommelier Ian Cobble, who's famous from the documentary called Somm. He has his own wine company that it's called Somm Select, and he recommends wines to people all over the place, and his subscribers get his recommended wines. He's partnered up with vintner Trevor Sheehan, and they make this wine together. The sourcing here is diverse, and it is a 2020 vintage wine. So they could be buying surplus fruit, unused fruit from various sources, and there was a bunch of it in 2020. Now let's talk about that in a minute. Let's talk about the way they describe the wine. Strong traditional bouquet, layers of ripe black cherry, dark cassis, aromatic violets, savory curry spices rooted by earthy undertones, with clean fruit throughout the palate. This medium-bodied wine has well-structured tannins balanced by nuance of toffee and caramel oak influence. James Suckling got pretty damn excited, gave this wine 92 points. Plums, berries, hazelnuts, and chocolate. And he gave the 2000 vintage Napa wine like 95 points.
It's my favorite.
All right.
Yep.
Well, this is $14.95. And I have had really good results with this wine. Let me taste it with you. Check out that color, man. That looks like a $30 Napa cab.
Love it.
It's got a little dusty cherry note there. It doesn't scream jelly bomb or anything like that. It's really got some really nice character.
Definitely my favorite.
Nice balanced texture. I think James puts his name out there and you want to slap him down, but man, he nails it. I really think this wine is a pretty solid bottle of wine, and for $15, that is screaming. And now this wine absolutely is taking advantage of the 2020 vintage. Somebody had to do it. They went and were able to buy probably as much juice as they could put their money, their investment together to get, because there were a lot of wineries that couldn't bottle 2020 because of the fires. Too many wineries are starting to say that they picked before fire season. This winery didn't even address it. There's no way you probably picked before the fires. So I think the fire started on and we do a Google search on the fires of Napa Valley 2020. I think it was like August 7th or 8th. Nobody picks Napa Cab before August 7th or 8th. So maybe you were picking during that time, a week later. It's not quite the problem I had. My fruit was so inundated with smoke, we couldn't even drive to the vineyard to go see it. That's how smoky it was. And it just sat out there for weeks and smelled like barbecued roadkill. I mean, it was horrible. There was no way I was going to put an ounce of money or energy into harvesting that fruit. But some people, like families that grow fruit, they have to create some revenue. And so some of this fruit went into the marketplace, and some of the fruit is going to get away with it. I'm going to say cautiously that if you want to buy 2020 wines and enjoy them, they're not going to hurt you. But maybe you don't save these wines. Don't put them in your cellar for 5 years, because smoke taint might be there and it may evolve. It may take over the wine. Do I smell smoke in this wine? Maybe if I really focus on it and I try, I might get, maybe that smoke there, but it's so nominal.
Yeah.
And here's a little trick that some wineries are going to employ. And if you listen to our Heroes of Cabernet tasting, this is straight out of the mouth of one of the most, highly praised winemakers in the Napa Valley. He's going to tell you, okay, so what some people did with 2020 is you're allowed to blend 5% from another vintage. So you take a fresher vintage, blend in 5%. You take, you can run the fruit through some filtration process. If you spin it in a cone fast enough, the molecular weight of every atomic particle in these wines separates, and you can go in and pinch out the smoke smells, or the majority of them. There's a lot of things you can do. There's also filtration. There's additives that attract certain kind of molecules and stuff that are safe, but it's not needed to be listed on the bottle that anybody's doing that. And I'm not even saying they did any of that. I'm just saying that these are all possibilities. The winery has been able to take advantage of a vintage that was fire affected. Now this wine does not say it's Napa Valley, and that's where the fires were. So if a lot of this fruit's from further north, further east, further west, some of the challenges are, though, that fire was everywhere. I mean, I think it was in Oregon too in 2020, right?
Mm.
So we had smoke in all directions, but some wineries did bottle their 2020s, and some expensive wineries too. I did, out of concern, I bought some Screaming Eagle 2020 second flight. I get 3 bottles a year. I bought it. I got a huge score. I'm going to be very curious to watch it. And it's a bottle of wine that maybe, we'll show off in a vertical, at some point in time, to be able to talk about this and to reflect and see. But they made theirs from Merlot in 2020. It's not, second flight is a Merlot based wine in 2020. And they are saying they picked early. So we'll see. But I think this is juicy and generous.
My favorite.
And for $15, a great deal. So now I'm going to ask you, well, let me do a little commercial, and then I'm going to ask you what your favorites were tonight, so you guys can all weigh in. But this is our December push, is for our Zoom into Wine membership. If you click through onto our Zoom into Wine page on our Merchant of Wine website, where all of our Zooms are located, you'll see the Zoom into Wine annual membership. And there are categories that you can join us at. $50 makes you a Zoom member. So you get invited every week to join us on the Zoom, whether you have the tasting kit or not. You can join us here. And maybe you don't even have time to Zoom with us. What we do, though, every Zoom is we send out a 10% discount so that you could use it on any wine on the website. So once a week, you get that. And that is special just for all of you got it for tonight. And you can buy any of these wines if you want, and you get 10% off, or you can buy any other wine on the website and get 10% off. So it's a good little reward for the people that support our Zooms. And that's something we do. And it just makes you part of our little community here. And once in a while, we have like a little member special for some of our Zooms. We even have some member pricing once in a while for some of the Zooms, because we do want to see you on a regular basis. If you want to go to the $100 level, we're going to send you a $90 bottle of Napa Cab as a thank you. At $125, we have a little 12 bottle value box of wines. Some of the wines we're drinking tonight could be in part of that box of wine. I don't carry a lot of inexpensive wines, so putting together a $125 bottle box is getting a little more challenging, but it is still fun for me, and I do use it as a way to, like, oh, we only had 1 bottle left from that find over there. I'm going to throw that in there. I always throw something in the box that's like, how does that even make sense? So it's just a fun way for us to keep our inventory fresh, and sometimes we even have labels that get a little nicked, and those go into our $125 bottle boxes as well. You can buy one of those boxes, by the way, on our website all year round. It's just a assortment, a value assortment for $125. And I've never made one that isn't worth more than $200. So keep that in mind. It's a great little value. At the $200 level, we have a 6-pack, and I put together some really crazy stuff for our friends to try. I love to push you outside of your comfort zone, and show you some really cool stuff from all over the world. And that's what I've been doing with the 6-pack. And at the $600 level, I'm sending you some of the best damn wines we have on our website. So
I just got the 6-pack. I can't wait to try them because I don't know any of them.
thanks, Tony. Well, I would take a call from you and talk to you about them if you'd like to.
Okay.
And tell you what I would do with some of those, but I'm very proud of those wines, and I think you may not come racing back to buy one or two of them, but they are really good at what they are, and that's part of the fun of the wine world. Hold our breath. It's going to be a big week.
Okay.
A lot of big news.
Okay. Look forward.
All right. Bye, gang.
Thanks, Ian.
Thank you.
Cheers, all.
Thank you so much. Have a good night.
Thank you all.